right, here's some directions for the algebra assignment for Friday. This is Mrs. P. Put your name on your paper. This is going to be Friday, the 9th of May. And put your class period down. This is going to be one of your final opportunities to show what you know and see how you understand solving systems of equations with all our different methods. In the number one, I just want to remind you that what we're doing when we're solving by graphing is we're trying to look at our equations in terms of y equals mx plus b. I'm going to talk about the slope. The first thing that I'm going to deal with is the y-intercept value, and that's where I'm going to start graphing each line. And the slope I'm going to think about as the rise over run of the line. And just quick like review, I'm going to do one of these equations here. This equation, there we go. This equation, the top one, I'm going to graph it by starting at 4 on the y-axis. And from 4, I'm going to use, so the b value is 4. I put a point on the y-axis. The m is -3. I'm going to put that over 1 to think about it as a rise of -3, which is funny. Really, it's going down. 1, 2, 3. And then to the right 1 because it's a positive 1. And remember, if you follow that pattern, 1, 2, 3, you can connect all the points to make your line. Make sure you take a straight edge and do that. Just a reminder, connect all your points. Connect points. Write that on your paper. Connect points. And if you use a ruler, make sure you return it. Connect points. Cool. Something about number 2. An x equals equation is a vertical line, no matter what the y value is. The x value is going to be -3 here. Think about that, what that would look like. In number 3 and number 4, in the graphing, if you look, none of the equations are y equals mx plus b. I just want to remind you of our literal equation solving strategies. If I want to solve this first equation for y, my favorite thing to do is add y to both sides first, because then the negative sign is gone, and we tend to forget those if we're not careful. So I'm going to have x equals y plus 3, and then I'm just going to take another quick step, and I'm going to subtract 3. So I wind up with y equals x minus 3. The b value here is going to be your 3, and your m is 1, 1x. So it's, your b value is not 3, it's -3. B is -3. And your slope is 1. So I'm going to think about that as 1 over 1. I'm going to let you graph that. But in number 3 and 4, just make a note. You have to solve each for y. 3 and 4 need to be solved for y first. Solve for y. The whole point is you want that y equals mx plus b. So you can plot the b, count the rise, run. Perfect. Now, substitution. You get into some more literal equation solving. Geez. If you wanted to, you could fit this in one of your grids and solve this one by graphing, because they're both in y equals mx plus b. But since these are both y equals, just recall that if they're both equal to y, we can set them equal to each other. This is our whole idea of break-even problems we've experienced in the past. And then if I'm going to use, it says substitution, but I'll be honest, my choice, well, yeah, we'll use substitution here. If I add y to both sides, I could turn this into an x equals y plus 13 and start my substitution there. Start the substitution with that. So think about that strategy that I just used, this literal equation solving to get an x equals, oopsie, and then I underlined the y. Get an x equals and then go in and replace it. Remember, you can always solve for one of the variables. Take one of the equations and solve for a variable. No problem with substitution on 7. Plug in -5 for y. You already have part of the solution, -5. There it is. And then I would subtract 7y from both sides on number 8. So you wind up with x equals something and be able to replace it here. Now your assignment is going to be the entire first page. And then if you turn it over on the back, you have directions that say solve by elimination. I'm going to tell you anywhere on the back side of here, if you'd like to use the strategy of elimination because it makes sense and the problem lends itself to elimination, don't worry about forcing yourself to use substitution. So you could use either method. Use either method. I really recommend that once you watch this video and taken some notes that you get your hands on some line paper. So you are required to do 1 through 16. And write that down too. Required to complete 1 through 16. And if you have time in class, it's expected that you put some time in on some of the challenging problems on the bottom. Now, let me tell you some of the challenges that I see in problems 17 through 24. A couple tips. Let me tell you a few things here. Elimination. For an elimination method, you can multiply. In elimination, you can multiply both equations by something if you need to. Both equations can be multiplied by something if you need to get to opposites. Another tip is that you're going to need to rearrange. You're going to need to rearrange so you see x's lined up when you want to eliminate. You're going to have to rearrange where you see x's. Let's say x plus y equals 7, whatever. I'm just making this up. Make sure that they line up. Your x's are lined up, your y's are lined up, and your constants are lined up. That's one of the tips for number 17 through 24. If you have time, the expectation is you try it. 1 through 16 is required. Good luck.